This video was brought to you by
ChatGPT Premium.
ChatGPT Premium gives you the best rate, $24.99 a month for 1 month of
ChatGPT Premium. Your teachers will never know you used it on the essay, right, Jacob?
No, they never know. Speaking
Okay.
from experience, they never know.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. Mr. Dufault, if you're listening to this point, we did this by a campfire. So if you hear any crackles in the background, that's why, I promise.
That was the AI mainframe glitching.
Shut up, Mustafa. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Primal Pugilists. Today's episode titled Bare Knuckle Brawl. For those of you listening, last week we talked about 100 men versus 1 gorilla is the popular debate spreading around TikTok and social media all over. Today, we're bringing up a new topic. One gorilla versus a silverback gorilla versus a grizzly bear.
So we're the hosts. Me, I'm Mustafa.
I'm Jacob Plant.
We got some guests today. We got Ryan.
I'm Ryan. I'm a grizzly bear expert.
We got Caden.
I'm Caden. Best driver west side of Cincinnati. Also a gorilla expert. Lived with them for 14 years.
What happened with that one gorilla?
We had a kid together, but we don't talk about that anymore.
Was that Rachel or Shirley?
Shirley.
Classic. Okay, and then we got Brent. We just saw him on the side of the road. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm just here so I don't get fined or kidnapped.
Okay. All right. So just to introduce the topic a little bit, we've been asking around ever since the gorilla debate versus the 100 humans started. We were just low-key thinking, who wins in a fight? 100 people versus a gorilla? I think
it was easily 100 people.
The general consensus, I don't think it was very contested.
You can never doubt the human
it could
strength.
be contested.
Let's just recap on that real quick.
100 people is easily winning.
It would take the 5 of us to beat a gorilla.
I think
we have to remember that.
no.
We have to remember that the gorillas have very low endurance.
Yeah, they
and
have
they don't have any
That's true.
stamina.
See, even the gorilla expert is agreeing.
They eat their own poop. They're just not very smart, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I would
Wait,
disagree on
let's
how
fact
smart
check
they are.
that.
Fact
What?
check?
They
No
actually,
fact
I've
checking,
seen it on
don't you?
TikTok.
well, they're actually group animals, and
You got that, kid. You can talk.
Yo, gorilla
sorry.
expert, can we get a fact check?
no, he's actually the grizzly expert. I'm
the grizzly expert.
You're the gorilla.
Yeah, so
I know,
do
the gorilla
gorillas eat
expert.
their own poop?
So we need a gorilla expert.
They use tools. They're actually very social animals, and they grow up together.
Yeah, you were
Not
socializing
as
with the
social
gorillas,
as humans,
right?
though, I suppose, right?
No.
No, not as social as humans, though.
So, I mean, if you're saying
because gorillas never made social
sociability,
media.
sociability is the strongest
Think
strong
about it.
point
If you
of
think
a
about
There's
gorilla.
it,
100 of them.
if you
Well, no,
think
there's
about
only
it,
one. There's only one
oh,
gorilla.
I meant humans.
Yeah, exactly.
So they can
Yeah.
work better together.
Exactly.
And that's why
100
the 100
humans-
humans
So
win.
the
saying-
strongest aspect of a gorilla is negated when there's only one, right?
I think that's true.
Oh, we're getting carried away. We got to go back to bear
Okay,
versus gorilla.
So the main debate between bear versus gorilla is that a bear. I personally, Jacob Plant, believe that a bear would win. But
I mean, that's
the
just
main.
obvious.
Okay,
Wait,
so
let's go around and
let's
say
set-
who we think
let's
will
set,
win, and
Well,
then we can
first,
go with our
let's set
arguments.
parameters.
Okay.
The parameters in this situation, we'll go over some later situations. But this situation, assuming that a bear and a gorilla are just placed
an MMA cage.
they're placed into an MMA cage,
like a big MMA cage.
big MMA cage.
How
Both-
big? How big are we talking?
We're talking
Just,
probably
like, pretty big.
20
It's
feet.
just like no
20 feet,
environmental
no, no.
advantages. It's
20
just a flat cage.
20 meters
Like
by 20
desert?
meters.
Like,
We
what
could-
about,
we
like,
could talk
desert
about different
landscape?
stuff.
20 meters by 20 meters,
Okay.
MMA cage. They are both, assuming that they are both not going to get scared of each other, and they're actually going to fight each other.
Is
'Cause
there
in
is
the
there a
wild?
top? Is there like the cage on
Can
top?
the
too?
gorilla
Yes,
climb?
yes.
Yeah, they
the
can-
gorilla can climb the cage,
Ooh, that
but
changes a
that's
lot.
but
Bears can climb too.
but the bear can climb the cage.
Bears
They-
cannot climb.
Bears
They can
can't-
interact
bears
with the
can't-
cage.
climb
yeah.
trees.
Just imagine a boxing ring, but instead of like
No,
the
MMA cage,
ropes.
like an octagon.
True. All right.
Okay.
So now that we know the parameters,
Okay.
it's just a 20 meter by 20 meter cage fight. We're gonna go in a circle, starting with Ryan, going from Ryan, Caden, Brent.
Well, I feel like our host should start,
Me.
honestly.
Do you want to start? We can start
we'll
from over here
start.
too. All right. We'll
So
start with
I think
Mustafa.
we both say the Bears win.
Well, you can go first. and
Okay,
then
I'll
give my
say the
opinion.
bear wins.
Give a couple.
easily.
Give a
reasons
general
as well.
consensus.
All right, let me just say. I mean, bears are just like they're way bigger. Sure, they're not as like strong pound for pound,
Bless you, Ryan.
but they just have so much more weight. They have better weapons. They have so much better weapons. They have claws that are like as long as your arm. They can bite. Gorillas don't even use their bite. They just like swing their arms around, and they're like actual hunters. Gorillas eat like grass, bro. Bears actually like hunt stuff.
You're
All right,
right.
Jacob's next.
So I'm also gonna say that the bear wins, just because I think it's just a size advantage. I don't think I think if a gorilla and a bear, if they both happen to be 300-400 pounds, I think the gorilla would take it.
Well, I feel like,
No. Let me give my opinion. You're next. I think a grizzly bear, they weigh on average. We were Googling this in class.
Yeah, way more than 300.
They weigh about, I think it's 700 or 800 on average.
And they can
with the biggest ones. I mean, we're talking about a grizzly bear. We're not even talking about, there's bigger bears, but a grizzly bear on average is like 900 pounds, I think. And that's just way bigger than, I don't think a gorilla is going to do anything. And if you think about it, gorillas in their natural habitats, we looked this up on Nat Geo, a wild gorilla, like silverback gorillas, are taken down by leopards and jaguars.
Wait,
That's only true when they're singled out and alone.
True, but in their natural... No. Let me give my consensus. We're going to go around. We're going to go around. Let me give you my consensus.
Thank you, Ryan.
That's not how this works.
Let me give my general opinion. Jaguars and leopards take down gorillas in their natural habitat in a one-on-one. Okay. So in my head, I think that a bear is way stronger than a leopard. So I can't think about how is a gorilla going to fight a bear if a gorilla can barely take down a leopard.
Right. My immediate...
No.
Sorry.
Well, jaguars are the coolest animals.
Brent.
Jaguars weren't talked about, but I believe jaguar would win.
Against the bear?
They do win
Against
in the wild.
both.
Not always. Bears usually scare off.
I'm very biased because
Gorillas usually
jaguars
scare
are
them
one
off.
of my favorite animals.
All right, Brent. Yeah, everyone.
That's all I have to
Brent's
say
giving
about
his
that,
opinion.
honestly.
That's it.
Jaguars, they're
Okay,
the...
Brent's just
the
going for the
most strongest
jaguar.
cat.
I think we can move on.
Yeah.
If we can get back on topic, what's the consensus on
All
bear
right,
versus
okay,
gorilla
so if
for
I
you?
had to choose,
in your opinion?
just like I think like the main point is that the bear, it has the weight advantage, the size advantage, it has the claws, and I think those are the three biggest things, and it seals the deal. That's about it. Pass on to the gorilla expert.
As the gorilla expert, I'm gonna have to side with my gorillas.
Cute.
The other side is saying how Mustafa was saying that their claws are as long as arms. That's not true, but
Fake news.
fake news actually. And I think that the gorilla is just gonna be far more mobile in this environment. It's got opposable thumbs, which is not something that a bear is privy to.
It could climb.
It can climb.
Do they really have opposable thumbs?
They really
I
do
didn't
have
think
opposable thumbs.
They do.
yeah.
Yep, they do.
They have full hands.
That is actually a fact. They do have full
So it's going to be a lot more mobile. Yes, the gorilla but the bear does have teeth, but so does the gorilla. The only thing that the grizzly bear has on the gorilla is claws. And really, how long are the claws going to last?
I will actually put this out there while you're talking. We were doing some research prior to the podcast, and I will say that gorillas actually do have a higher bite force than bears. Yep. Believe it or not.
Well,
It's
Yeah, but their mouths are a lot smaller.
Bears tank other bears' slashes a lot often, as I suppose.
So
let
could
Caden
gorillas.
finish. I just want to put that out.
So now, the bear doesn't have full motion of its rotator cuffs, while gorilla does. So gorilla can start
quadruped.
swinging.
True.
And it can use its feet. The bear is not going to use its feet as much as you think.
Okay, do you know how strong a gorilla punch is, like on average?
We actually were looking this up. A gorilla can lift about 1,700 tons.
Do you think that force would contribute to punching power?
A lot.
Just
It does. I
lifting?
think
Just
to an
lifting.
extent it does.
All right.
All right. Well, let's
Ryan.
let's
All right.
let's get to the
so-
final the grizzly bear expert. Let's get to one of our expert
So
opinions
I'm a
here.
grizzly bear expert, but I think according to parameters with the net the cage up top. The
Wait,
gorilla,
do we know how tall the cage is?
It's a standard.
Could the bear reach it? The top?
No, but, like,
on
I'm-
nine legs?
yes.
I'm
Yeah, it'd
thinking
have to be
that-
standing up on its
The
tiptoes.
gorilla
Okay.
stand.
Yeah, so that changes
A
things,
bear
honestly.
standing on
That
its
does-
hind legs stands at about 9 feet tall.
Oh, I thought it was like 10.
No, it's
10,
9.
12.
You're thinking of a polar bear.
Okay.
Grizzly
Yeah.
bear is about
Okay.
8 to 9 feet tall, standing on its
Okay,
hind
so
legs.
that changes it.
This cage is 10
Some
feet
gorilla
tall,
expert.
10 feet
Grizzly bear
tall,
expert.
10 feet
20
tall, okay,
meters,
so it can't
20
really
meters
climb
by
away.
20 meters. So
Okay.
the gorilla,
So yeah, that changes a lot. I thought the gorilla could climb away.
no.
But even then, the gorilla.
But no,
could,
it doesn't matter because the gorilla's not
Well,
going to try
I
to
would
climb
say,
away.
I'm going to be
No,
honest.
but not climb away, but like do a
given-
drop attack.
Yeah,
Like,
but
I'm
given-
thinking
okay.
the gorilla climbs the sides, climbs
Yeah,
the top.
theoretically,
They used to swing on the branches of
Yeah,
the jungle.
I watched Tarzan before,
yeah,
so
exactly. Those are apes though. Those aren't gorillas. Somehow.
I would say the bear loses leverage if it has to reach up that high.
I think a fatal move for
I'ma
the
be
bear
honest
could
with you.
actually end up being getting up on its hind legs to scratch at the gorilla, and the gorilla
it grabs it by the
drop-kicking
freaking throat and then it throws
Not
it
what I was going for.
Yeah.
but
I
that
mean,
would be one
Also,
thing.
let's think while we're
Okay,
talking
yeah.
about this, that the gorilla has opposable feet as well. It's using
Yeah,
those.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Those are basically second set of hands,
But and we also haven't brought it. I will be fair. I think the grizzly bear wins but we haven't brought up the gorilla's intelligence. I think the
Well, I
gorillas.
think that's overestimated, honestly, because like if anything, their intelligence is based just on like communication with other like gorillas.
But
you
it's
know?
not. Oh crap! I didn't even think about that.
So by itself, it's not going to try and communicate with another
Well,
thing.
let's
It's
also
not-
let's
think about it.
also
If you think about it,
and there's
in
no
the
things
wild,
to use.
in the wild, a gorilla's intelligence. I wasn't even thinking about this till you brought it up. A gorilla's intelligence is totally based on their social structure.
Yeah.
Because a gorilla's social structures. Thank you, Nat Geo, for the information on this. Shout out Nat Geo, National Geographic for the information. But National Geographic states that a gorilla's intelligence is mainly social based because they have such a complex social structure, especially for
and
animals.
I
Wait,
do
hold
believe-
on. I gotta make a point since we're on the
But
topic.
no. But the gorilla's intelligence is strictly social based. They don't.
Okay.
They're herbivores, so they're not gonna fight. They're not using their intelligence to fight. If they're thinking in a fight, it's not going to be about the fight. They're thinking about social structure. That's their intelligence.
Oh, wait, no,
Okay,
Let
no.
Mustafa
Let me go
first. Let Mustafa
Okay,
go
all right,
first.
So since we're talking about the intelligence thing, I would say like the intelligence, it doesn't really matter in a cage fight because, I mean, bears are also smart, but like if you think about it, like if someone could be good at like Fortnite 1v1s, but it doesn't translate to a real game. So. So like that's what I'm saying. Like, because in the real game, there's environment, there's like weapons and stuff. That's like so. Even if a gorilla is so much smarter than a bear, it can't really use its intelligence like that if it's just in a cage. It honestly just comes down to strength and like weapons.
So let's think about this. Gorillas are in the wild. They're silverback gorillas are majorly the males. They're gonna be alone, and they're in their pack. It's mostly going to be other female gorillas and their babies.
Yeah, they're making that happen.
So, that's true. I would know. But in the wild, they're doing all that they can. Oh my gosh! They're doing all that they can to defend their young and their other women from predators like leopards who are trying to prey on their baby gorillas.
Wait, so are you trying to
Like your
say
son?
that like because there isn't something to protect they're going to be less aggressive?
No, I think
Well, no,
that
no.
I think
No,
that in the situation that they need to fight, they will.
Yeah. Given the fact that because the parameters stated that they're always. Given the parameters, the gorilla and the bear are going to fight. It's not like a.
They're both angry. They want to fight.
We're assuming that in power scaling
okay.
in power scaling terms, we would consider this called bloodlusted, which means that they are
yes,
both
yes.
they're both at their full attention and they're using their full intelligence just to fight each other. They're
Right,
not
and
thinking
since-
about they're not thinking about things they would think about in nature. They're not worrying about young or whatever. Because grizzly bears get very grizzly bears and gorillas are both very territorial. They're not thinking about
yeah.
territory. It's just we're
They
assuming,
want to kill the person next to them. in front of
Exactly.
them.
We're assuming that the gorilla is fully focused on fighting the bear, and the bear is fully focused on fighting the gorilla.
And
They
since
just-
we're talking
they killed
power
each other's
scale,
kids.
Since we're talking power scaling,
I want to say that like the bear wins low diff, maybe medium diff.
I
at
think
best.
it's medium.
diff?
In my opinion,
Wait. What kind of scale? What would be a low diff type of fight?
I mean, if you just
Are you talking
bears
about,
have so much more.
like an
let's
example, like an
let's
example.
go
You're
around.
going
No,
off
let's. So
theoretical?
speaking on that,
Okay.
let's go around the circle, starting with Ryan, ending with Mustafa. Let's go. How do we think the battle would go in like a minute? Let's just give us like 60 seconds to think about how do you think the battle would go?
No, since
Just
you're on
brief
that,
description.
say how would the battle go in a minute, and then if it goes to like 10 minutes.
So, yeah, in the first minute, I think the bear comes out super strong, attacking straight at the grizzly bear. Or
the
not
gorilla?
The gorilla.
Yep.
The gorilla's going to be super defensive to start. It's going to do a lot of evasive moves, start swinging on the bear, try to get some clean hits in. But as time goes on, I think the gorilla, with its intelligence and its strength and its endurance, is going to start to wear out the bear, and the bear's going to start to get pretty tired. Because bears aren't endurance hunters. They're quick. They go for the kill. They sneak up. But in an MMA cage, bear is not going to be coming up on a. There's no way to sneak up on him, right? So I think the bear's just going to go for the outright attack. And as time goes on, the grizzly bear's going to tire him out a lot. And I think 10 minutes in, the bear's going to get pretty tired and either try to scale up the side of the cage to try to get some rest, and then maybe the gorilla comes and gets him.
So I just want to make a comment on that. So you're saying like basically a bear wins by KO or TKO, but then
Yeah.
like a gorilla would win by decision. If it
Yeah.
goes up to the judges,
Wait,
the gorilla
over
would win.
over 9
okay.
rounds,
No
the
judges
gorilla's
were
gonna
Are we?
fall.
Are we?
Okay.
No.
There's multiple
Everyone
rounds,
chill.
like
Everyone
it
chill.
breaks?
Are we assuming that if it's a draw after 10 minutes, I think it's just a fight to the death. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
no, it is.
I'm thinking
But,
fight to the death.
In a general consensus, 9 rounds is a fight to the death. Like Rocky versus Apollo Creed. It's they're going bone to bone.
Okay. No, let's say it's a 15-round championship fight.
Assuming.
Well,
If we're giving recovery time, my opinion
There's
might
no
be-
recovery time. There's no.
We're just
recovery.
assuming
Yeah,
it's
no,
a
no,
straight up
yeah, yeah.
10-minute fight or however
There's-
long.
there's
I guess
no
however
breaks in
long it
nature.
takes.
however long
Bless you,
it takes.
Gorilla expert.
So you're saying
Alright.
you're basically
Well,
saying
let's
the
go
player
to-
wins right away. If
Yo,
it fails
before
to win.
we start
Exactly.
commenting, let's hear
Everyone else's
Caden.
opinion?
Caden, how do you
Sorry,
think it
guys.
would go? Give us like a play-by-play, I guess,
Honestly, I agree
and
with
how long you think it would take for whoever to wins.
Right. So I'm gonna be honest. I think I agree with Ryan right at the start. Bear's coming out strong. He's coming out punching. Not punching because
Swinging, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
scratching. Right. But I think Gorilla's doing a lot of evasive movements. He's gonna play the defense. He's gonna do blocks. He's gonna do swings. He's gonna utilize that MMA cage. Right. But once the Bear starts getting tired, like he can't hang up with that forever. He's gonna come down, drop on his head, and start. He's gonna go with the chokehold. I seriously think.
I gotta ask you a question.
Oh, of course.
How do we think about the Gorillas like takedown defense? Because I've seen
Takedown
if you ever watch a YouTube video of two bears fighting, they're not usually swinging at each other like
Right.
going for hands. They're grappling, they're
grappling.
wrestling.
And I think the gorilla has higher grappling potential than a grizzly bear, and that's what I'm saying. Once it drops down
The
on the
question
grizzly,
is,
Yeah, I don't think so.
My
I
question
think-
is, how is the size going to affect that? Because
I
if you
think
think
they're
a
both
gorilla,
pretty-
a grizzly bear, I think everyone here can agree, a grizzly bear is bigger than a gorilla. Of
course.
So
But not by-
I think
not by
I think
alone.
that.
There's not a big difference between the two.
I'd say there's
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
Grizzly bears
Think about it
are
pound for
larger.
pound. We did the averages before this. Well, I'll give you the information now. A gorilla on average is about 400 and
It's gonna be
and
more
chain.
than that. No.
No. A gorilla on average
they're only like, what,
They
7
stand
feet
at
tall?
no. They
5'4".
stand at about 5'8". They're
They
really
stand on both their.
They
Yeah,
stand
they're,
on
they're
hands.
not
No,
on
no,
their
hind
hind
legs,
legs.
When they're standing on
don't-
hind
they
legs,
don't
they
stand on
only
hind
stand at about 5'8".
I
They're
don't
not.
believe that.
No,
That's-
They're
No,
they're
we-
big. They're
we fact
blockier
checked that.
sideways
ask the
than
gorilla
expert.
expert.
They
Ask the gorilla
are
expert.
short and stocky. They are not, which isn't to their disadvantage. They're still
Have you seen a
pound for
short,
pound.
stocky guy in the gym? Like he's
Exactly.
he's
They
legit.
build muscle easier. A short.
like 300.
Hey, Floyd Merriweather was not a big guy. He was.
All right, but
he
I
was
believe it's
small.
since we're
Mayweather.
talking about it like
So-
this,
of course.
we could say like Habib was like a very good fighter, but
Who
he
is
just
Habib?
would lose. He was like the champion in the lightweight division in the MMA.
Yeah, he's talking about MMA.
Yeah, so basically
He's
he was a
related.
very
Deficient.
good fighter. He was like pound for pound or whatever. But if he goes up against a mid heavyweight guy, he has no chance of winning.
Exactly.
At all.
But what about John Jones?
I think no.
John Jones wins easily, and I'm saying the bear was John Jones.
I
Okay,
think,
but is
I
Max
think
on the
I
top?
think-
You agree with that?
if you think about it,
Max Verstappen.
Mustafa brings up a very good point.
Right.
Mustafa brings up a very good point about weight class. If you think about it, I think that an amateur heavyweight boxer could beat Conor McGregor in a fight because Conor McGregor is a
I'm
lightweight.
going to cut you short.
yeah,
it's my turn.
Oh wait,
My
wait,
turn.
we
My
forgot.
turn.
Wait, Caden. How do you think the fight ends up? In
I
the
think
end,
fight ends in less than 10 minutes. Gorilla is gonna
No, I don't think
KO
so.
the
I
bear.
think it takes over an hour for the gorilla to KO.
Over an hour?
I think it takes
hour.
I don't think
You
a
guys-
bear-
Yo,
fight
everyone,
is
everyone.
really long.
Okay,
All right, let's
My
get
turn, my
Brent's
turn.
opinion.
let's
and
get
we'll
Brent's
wrap it up.
opinion, and then me and Mustafa. have
First
the same
off, I
exact
believe
Oh,
the
of course.
Jaguar.
Shut up.
Jaguar dies. Okay, to be honest. Jaguar's not making it. too
Jaguar
far.
sneak appearance.
But
What about a tiger?
Tiger? Oh, dude, don't get me started.
opinion.
on
Tiger
Tiger
versus what? Gorilla.
Anything,
Tiger
bro.
versus both of
Tigers. Tigers are the most aggressive cat.
Okay, but is the
The biggest as well. They're also the biggest.
Cheetahs have no chance, bro. They're
Cheetahs
like
are the babies
Cheetahs,
of the savannah.
cheetahs
They
are such.
get-
Wait,
they get thrown
on
around.
a little side right here.
Cheetahs
Cheetahs
are
are frauds.
They are frauds.
Cheetahs are the
100%.
biggest
I concur with
frauds.
that.
They're not a big cat.
Wait,
They're not a real
yo,
big cat.
And I'm
tiny
saying
cat.
I'm saying this in air quotes. Fastest land animal. Yeah, they're the fastest. They can run 70, 60
For
they have
6
70 miles
seconds
an hour.
until they overheat. And
Exactly.
die.
They
kill
run.
themselves.
They run 60 miles an hour
and
for like.
you know their success rate for hunting is like less than 10%.
What?
And most
Okay,
most of them
that's
starve to
even less
death.
than I expected. If you think about
Bobcats
it,
are more successful hunters than cheetahs, bro.
that's not even a hot take. That's not even a hot
crazy
take.
That's not a
We're
crazy
getting a
take
little
at all.
off topic, but I will say, just to wrap this whole little side tangent off, cheetahs are the biggest frauds of all time. If you
Yep. Worst big cat.
exactly
Cheetahs are your favorite. You
bottom
should get a
tier,
different favorite
we'll
animal,
make that
you know?
our next episode. We'll talk about why cheetahs are frauds. But the first, I have to say, cheetahs. If you're running 60 miles an hour,
Wait, no.
For 5 seconds?
No, we're done.
It's
We're done now.
pointless.
We're done now.
Let's rotate back
Okay.
because
All
cheetahs
right,
can't really
wait,
run.
wait,
They
just
just run
play
in a straight line.
Brent's play by play.
no, let
Finish
finish.
it's gonna be short and sweet. I believe the grizzly bear isn't letting this go on for more than a couple minutes. I believe it's going to go out strong. It's going to, do a couple slashes, and it's going to hit the gorilla hard, and the gorilla's not going to be able to recover, I mean, sure, the gorilla can block. It can have stronger stamina. It can last longer, but I don't think that it's going to be able to survive long enough to successfully block and then perform a counterattack, I think it's going to be short and sweet. I think the bear is going to destroy him, and that's it.
Dude, honestly, me and Jacob don't even have to give our opinion.
For a guy that we picked up off the street, I must say, Brent, that was a very professional opinion.
Yeah.
And I will say, confirmed that you gave a better, more tactical representation of the fight than the gorilla expert and the grizzly
shut
expert.
up, bro.
And I'm honestly
I should be
impressed.
getting paid.
Yo, Brent,
I have a degree.
Brent,
Thank you, Brent.
What do
In
you have a
business.
degree in?
In
What do you have a degree
business.
in?
In
We didn't
business.
even know he had a degree in business. We just picked him off the side of the street.
I was hitchhiking.
Yo, give me a big handshake for that. Props to you, man. All right.
Thank you.
And to
I
wrap up,
appreciate
to
Hold
talk
on.
about
Before we say that, we got to give our opinion, but we don't have to do that. I'll
No,
just
no, no.
say
Me and
we
Mustafa's
should ask a
opinion-
question instead of giving an opinion.
Well,
Forget saying who would win. How many gorillas would it take to beat a bear?
Wait,
That's
wait,
the
wait,
question
wait.
we're
First of all,
No, no,
just the one. Just
Wait
the
a
one.
minute, wait.
Easily two.
Me and Mustafa need to give our opinion.
I think
I'm gonna
maybe not 2, 3 definitely.
I'm gonna give the opinion of me and Mustafa. Correct me if I'm wrong at any point. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna assume that what you're thinking.
Okay.
Me and Mustafa think that the second the fight starts, they are both gonna clash together in the center. I think the grizzly bear is gonna take one swipe. I think the gorilla's gonna get slashed in the face and die instantly. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
I think that the gorilla will just get completely trashed on. I don't think the gorilla's gonna take attack.
doubting the fight, bro.
I don't think the gorilla's endurance even
Well, it's
matters.
not necessarily durability. It's
Just a durability. It's a
not
durability
endurance,
feat.
not
And if you think
endurance.
about it, if jaguars and leopards it's one of the
murking
two.
these guys,
It's one of the two. If a jaguar is working a gorilla, how is a gorilla supposed to deal with a
Bro,
grizzly
okay,
bear?
hold on. Let me just make a
Exactly.
side note.
Mustafa.
We haven't even talked about that there's recorded evidence of bears tanking shotgun shots.
Exactly. And
Well,
not
well,
no.
okay,
And also
In
gorillas
hunting video games, it takes multiple shots to kill
Exactly.
bears when they come after
grizzly
you.
bear, if you think about it,
can't
a
forget
grizzly
that.
bear in the wild, or no, gorillas have
What is a grizzly bear doing when he takes a kidney
If we're
shot?
talking about attack power feats,
Well,
we're
would
talking about
a gorilla
AP feats,
aim
attack
for a kidney though?
No, think about it. Attack potency feats.
Okay.
The attack potency of a bear. There is recorded evidence of stories in the wild where people get mauled by bears in seconds.
Yeah.
They get clawed by a bear, bitten by a bear, they're dead on the spot.
Dude,
Yeah,
this
no,
lady
yeah,
survived
that's
for
if
an
you
hour
think about-
to a gorilla.
If you think about it, there's a story in 1972 of a woman who fell into a bear cage, or not a bear cage, a gorilla cage, mind me. She fell into the gorilla cage. She was mauled for an hour and 20 minutes.
Can we take a quick moment?
No.
Whoa, can we,
Gorilla's probably
wait,
just
wait,
joined.
wait.
No,
Can we take a quick moment of
Let me
silence to
finish.
remember Harambe?
Let me finish. There has to be
gonna say that too.
there has to be a recognition of the fact that against a human using
Because against
no.
humans, gorillas are more docile. They do not
Using
want to
fight
hurt
is-
you.
no.
Versus
Shut up. Let me
gorilla.
finish my
It's
point.
gorilla versus
Let me
bear.
finish my point. You can scale
You
them.
have to use feet.
You can scale them to a
have to
common
use feet, bro.
to a common opponent. A gorilla going against a human, it takes
That's
over.
not a fair way to scale.
All right, wait.
It is a fair way to
Time
use
out here.
feats. You can't
Jacob,
just
be
use
quiet
theories,
for a
bro.
second. Gorilla expert, are you saying that the gorillas are more docile towards humans because they think we're closer
Are
related?
you trying
to
to
them?
say that it's because we're similar?
Are
in
you saying
being?
gorillas are scared
No.
of humans?
I would
They
not
are.
say they.
Like they respect us more? You know what I mean?
Because we're
Like,
similar?
we're-
We're not. We're not saying this is their natural habitat. We're saying that they're fighting to the death and they're both angry at each other.
Exactly.
This is the
Yes.
scenario we started at the beginning.
Okay, no. I get what you're trying to say, and I will say that when the woman fell into the cage, the gorilla's obviously not going to be bloodlusted. So I'm gonna redact my statement because you just made a really good point. I'm not even gonna lie.
Bears.
Alright, so
bears
can we
in
go
the
back? Hold on. Can we go back to the part where you were saying that bears get taken or can't get taken down by a shotgun shell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's shooting a bear with a shotgun?
Dude,
Well, the
people
thing
get
is,
jumped
wait,
by
wait,
it.
well, no,
They
because
get
if you
jumped
think
in
about
the
it,
woods,
a bear
But
will go.
no one's hunting bears with a shotgun.
No, they're not.
No,
They're
they're
not.
not. I've
Yeah,
been in
they're
the
not
woods
hunting. They're not
for
hunting the
deer,
bear
not with
directly.
a shotgun. Actually.
Yeah, exactly. You're
But-
not hunting. You're not hunting in bear territory with a shotgun.
Okay, well,
You're hunting
no.
with a
The
rifle
thing
'cause
is,
you're
the
hunting
thing
big
is,
game, which
no.
That is true,
The thing
yeah.
that people do is they'll go duck hunting on like a
I've
an
been
expansive
catching
water,
fish while
like a
hunting.
river.
Yeah, no,
Like,
that's fair.
you know what I'm saying, right? You
And
coming
it just so
from
happens that
coming
the
from you live on the
bear is
lake. You live on the
consuming
lake.
the salmon.
You live on the lake. You know like you've probably hunted birds before. have you not?
Definitely.
Hold on, let me just make a
I know
point
we are
real
at the
quick.
lake.
Let me
no,
make a
let me
point.
finish. Let me finish.
Oh my
Yeah,
so
let's
you've
take
hunted
it.
on the lake before. When you're hunting birds, you don't use rifles. You use shotguns with birdshot.
If you're
But
hunting
if
in
you're-
bear territory, you're gonna have something like that on
But
hand.
we're assuming that in these
crossbow.
situations,
yeah, Brent, you're funny.
in these situations where bears are tanking birdshot, it's not a situation where people are aware. If you're getting into a situation where a bear is charging at you and you only have birdshot with a shotgun, that's just an inexperienced hunter.
That's why you gotta carry a
Hold on,
katana.
hold on.
But it happens.
Let me
But
just
it
say
happens.
something. That's a base level bear. We're talking about grizzly bears. We're not even talking about like
If we were to-
Kodiak bears.
if
bro.
we were to bring in-
Hold on,
So this is a complete
Hold on, let me
different
talk.
argument.
Let me talk.
Kodiak bears are
No, 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 no.
Kodiak
but
bears are still they're still brown bears. They're just advanced grizzly bears because they had to. Because we're talking about the strongest type of gorilla, a silverback gorilla.
They
Okay.
genetically
So we can
evolved.
let's
Okay.
talk about the strongest type of bear, a Kodiak bear.
A
bro.
brown
That's
bear.
like
Strongest type of brown bear.
the
Kodiak
strongest
brown
type of
bear.
brown bear. Yeah, a Kodiak bear. That's like
They
they live
live-
a bear
they-
with like conqueror's hockey.
For a
bro.
little
and
background-
an awakened devil fruit.
For a little background on people that don't
Awakened
know,
devil fruit.
for a little background for people who don't know what a Kodiak bear is.
Oh, I thought you
Kodiak.
didn't give background on Conqueror's hockey, but whatever.
No, I wasn't, but that would have been a good.
wanna know about
little
the devil
segment.
fruits.
So Kodiak bears are.
Is it a gum fruit?
No, it's a specific subspecies of grizzly bear that was they were
Trapped on an island.
they were isolated on
Alaska.
Kodiak Island, which is an island off the coast of Alaska.
and they just fought for dominance. and they just kept evolving.
Exactly.
It was
It's-
Darwinism.
It's an island. It's an island full of predator bears who had to fight for mating and dominance or whatever.
If we're going to
privileges
talk
they fight
about
for.
Kodiak bears,
and they
we're gonna
just
have to talk
grew.
about the dire wolves.
We're not talking about dire wolves. We're
Okay,
talking
we're
about
dire wolves.
You're a
Dire wolves
grizzly bear
lose to a
expert.
gorilla, bro.
I'm not a grizzly bear expert. I'm a
I mean, a gorilla
Give me
expert, my
a
bad.
gorilla over 3 dire wolves, bro, and I don't even like the gorilla. I'm not even a big fan of the gorilla.
And I think a gorilla's taking down 3 guys. That's not even crazy.
It's not Game of
That's
Thrones,
not-
bro. It's not Game of
Dogs
Thrones.
are low-key easy, you know.
Dogs are
Like,
easy to fight.
compared
Yo,
I
next,
could
wait,
take on
hear
a
me out,
dire
guys.
wolf, bro. Don't
Next
even get me
episode
started.
of the podcast.
No, it's already.
We already
choose a
decided
prize.
the next episode.
Oh, the episode after that we'll do dog versus human. So just like
I don't
to
think
kinda,
dog versus
to kind of
human.
get like
Have you ever seen a
Yo,
dog maul a little baby, bro? Have you seen Cupcake versus the little girl?
Yeah, but the only thing that those things
Alright,
are
I think
bullying
we
are
gotta
are
wrap
babies,
this up,
bro.
by a
guys, I think we got to wrap this up. Let's
You know-
go around. Everyone, no interruptions. I'm serious this time because we've been interrupting. No interruptions.
Yo, you're the one interrupting, bro.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm
you've been
interrupting a lot, but
interrupting
you
all
guys are
episodes.
too. So
we got to get you a mic muter next time, bro.
maybe we do. Maybe we got to mute my mic. But
All right, let's wrap it up.
We'll go around, starting with Ryan, ending with Mustafa. Me and Mustafa are going to give our full opinions. Just a final statement.
Like
I
a
guess.
bear
Give me
wins
gorilla
or
or bear.
gorilla
That's all I
wins.
want.
Gorilla or bear, we're going to take
Alright,
a
alright.
general vote and see which one wins. And
I-
whoever thinks that the loser wins is not welcome back on the podcast.
I think Brent is right. I think the bear is going to come out of the gate really strong and just decimate this.
No, I don't want
That
that.
was
I
me.
want bear
That
or
was-
gorilla.
Bear-
I don't
yeah,
want
he
this
just-
is gonna happen.
No,
That's gonna
no,
happen.
I'm saying that. I think
He's
I think
doing
we're talking
he's
about
doing
bear.
a final statement, and then at the end of your final statement, say,
I think
I
the
think
Bears-
this wins.
I think the bear's going to come out of the gate, decimate the gorilla out of nowhere. And I think the bear's just going to smack him silly, and he's going to win. I think that's going to be the final answer. The bear's
Ah.
smoking him.
Interesting
Okay.
choice of words.
Caden, what do you think?
I still stand by my original point that the bear is just not going to be able to outmaneuver the gorilla. It's not as skilled in grappling. So my final stance is gorilla.
All right, Brent.
My final stance would be I love Jaguars and bear in 3.
Oh, bear in 3. Okay.
Bear in 3.
As-
There's a 4-point game.
As one of the hosts, I
Exactly,
think
exactly.
I think with my extensive background on animals, I think that the gorilla is just not going to be able to overcome the size difference. I think that the bear is too big. I think that if you were to scale down the bear, maybe you'd have a chance. But I just think in the given scenario that we've been given, in the MMA cage with no environmental advantage, in a jungle,
The stars, bro.
in a
the stars.
shh, in a jungle, I think
Why
the
are they
gorilla
actually
would win. But
Yeah, the stars are
I think
beautiful, man.
shut up. Given
Giving the gorilla a jungle is like SGA. Is like giving the SGA the refs.
I think given the scenario we've been given with the MMA cage with the 20 meter by 20 meter, 10 feet tall, I think the grizzly bear wins, and I think it's not even close. I think the grizzly bear wins in one fight, and that's it. I think the gorilla wins. I think the grizzly wins.
I think you would have to be letting the gorilla shoot like free throws just for it to like even have a chance.
The
bro.
refs have to be on his
And it
side.
would go to like overtime, and the bear would still win if you give the gorilla free throws. Easily,
Wait,
the bear
is
would
the
win.
gorilla is it like normal free throws, normal like, cause like
All
I
fun and
feel
games
like- I
till
feel like they could
the
dunk from
gorilla
there,
like
honestly.
revives all his chakra and then just starts doing ninjutsu.
I feel like a bear sweeping
Shadow
a
Clone-
series.
what kind of ball do they use? Regular
Bear
regular
is sweeping the
basketball,
4-0, bro. It's like that's all we need.
or like one of those special
No,
play balls
yeah.
that like the zoo gives them. You know.
If I'm being honest, I'm gonna have to agree with Mustafa. Even if you're using one of those silly ass
You pay the
silly
refs. You do like
freaking-
some Pacers dark magic.
Pacers
You're
are
done, we're
pulling
done,
some on a side tangent, bro. On a side tangent,
Oh my god.
the Pacers are pulling something
tangent.
out of their butt to win
Dude,
this series. I don't
that's
know
actually
how
crazy.
they're up against the Knicks.
That's
No,
gonna be
they
crazy.
were
if
winning
he's
from
staying
the
this
get-go.
long.
I knew they were winning.
No, they
Game
were
one.
losing every game until overtime, and they just made it to overtime because
That's
they're
what
like,
that's what they
No,
did
no, no,
for
yeah,
us.
shut up.
They're burning
Shut up. We're
incense
talking
and
about Gorillas versus
sacrificing
Grizzly Bears. What
souls
are we
in
doing?
Indiana, bro.
What are we
Alright,
doing? What are we doing?
Mr. Dufault, if you're
Mustafa-
still watching,
No. Mustafa, finish your point. Who
Well,
do you
wrap
think wins?
it up. He
Who do
already
you
said-
think
he
wins?
already said
Gorilla or
Gorilla.
Grizzly
He
Bear?
said-
okay, we're gonna say the Bear wins. Mr. Dufault, I don't know how you think the Gorilla wins. You're wrong. Thank you for listening to the podcast. We're only gonna get Brent back. These two other guests, I don't know what they're talking about.
I think Bear.
And
We're
a
the
final note. Thank you to Ryan Burke for coming out as a Grizzly Bear expert. You were the only one that responded. We asked people from UC Berkeley. We asked people from
Barkley.
From freaking. We asked people from Harvard. We asked experts from Yale. We asked everyone from the top zoology schools in the country, and you were the only one that responded. And I thank you for that.
You're welcome,
I'm a
guys.
CAA sleeper.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr.
And I want to thank Caden
did
Cox
not.
as a person who's been very experienced with gorillas. What the hell?
I'd like to admit,
as gorillas in the past. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast because we really appreciate these experts.
Jacob Plant, I have to admit to you, I'm a gorilla shifter.
A gorilla shifter.
A gorilla shifter.
So you can turn into a gorilla.
Yeah.
Is that how you had the kid?
yeah.
Okay. And I want to thank Brent Dunning for. I mean, we only paid him $100 to. We pulled him off the street and said, "We'll give you."
Yeah, you guys gave me, a couple Slim Jims.
We
and
gave him.
a
We
firm
gave him.
handshake. If
We
you know
gave
what
him
I mean.
We gave him 3 Slim Jims and $20 as an offer. We pulled him off the side of the street, and he came in here and
It was a good conversation,
and,
fellas.
coming
great
from me,
conversation.
I'm an expert podcaster. We've been running this podcast for what? Mustafa, we've been running this podcast for what? 2 years now? Almost
20
3?
years.
I'm actually
20?
a big fan.
20
you
years.
know?
And
I've been
have
listening to you guys for the past
We'll
couple
actually
of
get
months.
Theo
Really?
Vaughn
Yeah.
versus Brent next episode.
No.
Theo
Next,
Vaughn?
no, no.
Next three
I
episodes
actually
planned.
Next
met
episode.
Theo
Next
Vaughn.
episode is dog versus human.
No, it's not.
Actually, I
Why
have
she
one
was-
of his dreads. I'm an inheritor.
What's next
Alright.
episode? What was next episode?
It was like
The
Jaguar
cheetah.
versus.
Next
No,
episode
no,
was
no, why
next
cheetah
episode was
fox?
why a cheetah is a fraud.
The episode
after that is
I
dog
think-
versus human, and the episode after that is Theo Vaughn
Didn't you-
versus Brent
weren't you guys
Dunning.
talking
Who's
about
funnier?
having Nardwar on as well?
We were thinking
we
about
were
it.
thinking about it.
We were thinking about it because Nardwar is a very interesting guest. Because no, and he knows how to talk. I mean, hey, if he came
We're
on the
running over
podcast-
our limit. Spotify
Alright.
Premium is not letting us do
Yeah,
that.
let me
we have to
do it,
cut it off.
Let me do it.
Okay,
Alright,
thank you,
thank you
Mr.
guys for
Dufault.
listening.
See you later.
Subscribe, whatever.
All right.
Like,
so,
subscribe, and hit the follow button.
all right,
Hit the plus for more.
hit the subscribe button
Make
for
sure
more.
to turn your notifications on. We'll see you next time. Let's go.
Peace. Spread love, not hate.
All right.